Hi, I actually don't consider myself as a hero, but if you are talking about a person who care for a life and accepting all the risks accompanying that care, then I can be considered a hero. My name is Dr. Regalado A. Valerio Jr. I'm a certified registered nurse anesthetist here in the United States, specifically in the Los Angeles County Hospital. It's like the PGH in the Philippines. We are one of the biggest public hospital in the United States. And COVID really changed the way we practice. I provide anesthesia to the underserved community here in Los Angeles, California. And I'm proud of what I do. It's more than putting people to sleep, but it's a total package of care. It's a holistic form of care, starting from patient education, explaining how anesthesia works, obtaining consent, doing a preoperative examination, histories and physical examination before we actually go inside the operating room to make the patient sleep until the patient recovers in the recovery room. COVID-19 changed our practice here in the United States. It's unprecedented. We were never prepared. I could still remember every single day that I am scared getting up in the morning to go to work. Because first and foremost, I'm afraid to contract the virus that I don't know, that's very deadly, so virulent, and that I can take that virus home with my 3 kids and with my wife and with my older parents. So that's actually the scare. Another risk that I have to take is to put the patient to sleep. We all know how the virus is transmitted. And as an anesthesia professional, I put patient to sleep. I deal with patient's airway every single time. And the risk is so high. During the height of COVID pandemic, the ORs, all the 26 main operating room here in Los Angeles County Hospital were shut down. We only perform emergency surgeries. But that's not a good news, because as an anesthesia professional, we have to step up. We were actually deployed in the intensive care units, in all the step-down units that's converted to a high-level acuity patients, managing ventilators, managing critical ill patients with COVID virus. I remembered that our main recovery room, it's a huge room, were converted into a negative pressure isolation room for COVID patients. You can imagine when a hurricane hits or a typhoon hits the Philippines, a sports complex that's converted into a huge relocation site. And that's how it is. The PACU became a huge COVID unit. It's an overflow from the ICU. We actually have 3 floors of ICU with 4 sections. And it's huge. But because of the height of COVID, the ICU was so full that we have to convert units into COVID units too. And we were deployed. And we were not functioning as an anesthesia provider, but as a collaborator for the intensivist to manage these ventilator patients. There's no competition. Everything was collaborative. There is no actual delineation of scope of practice. We actually cross over and perform the duty in order to save these COVID patients. The virus was so deadly. I know a lot of people who lost lives, who lost family members because of COVID. It is so sad. Anybody working in the field of healthcare can go through that same experience. So what did I do? First and foremost, I did the right thing. In my practice, I was so careful. I treat all patients during that time as if they are potentially have COVID. I wear the PPEs as recommended by the CDCs and as recommended by my hospital. There's a guideline. I wear copper. If my patient is only requiring a regular PPE, I do something extra. People are saying, you don't really need that. But what I did is, I still did it. I took extra steps. When the vaccine was available, I was the first one to get the vaccine. We were so fortunate that the vaccines were available. I had 2 doses. Because I'm only not thinking of myself, but I'm also thinking of the families at home, those immunocompromised patients that don't have COVID, that I have the possibility to carry this virus and transmit it to them. This is not only protecting yourself, doing what the science recommends us to do, like the PPEs, getting the vaccine. I think the COVID experience is all about faith. It's all about resilience. I was interviewed one time by Fox News, being the president of the Philippine Nurses Association of Southern California, because they found out that there's a lot of healthcare workers who are Filipinos, and they were amazed how resilient the Filipinos are. And I totally agree that we have gone through life. Personally, I've gone through life. And the resilience of every Filipino is there. Or what set us apart is that we have a very strong faith. And I think that carried me through this COVID pandemic, and also my family. I have full trust that we are experiencing what we are experiencing for a purpose. Hospital, it's covered with fear and anxiety. It's coming from the top until the bottom of the organizational chart. And it transcends at home. We carry that. There are a lot of perks. A lot of food companies send us food. Thank you very much for them. A lot of praises. I'm still saying that I'm not comfortable to be called a hero. Specialty bonus was given. It's amazing. But that does not change the fact that we still have it. I remember that when the cases were down, the previously converted recovery room was converted back to a recovery room from being a COVID room. Everybody was so happy. But the happiness was half-hearted because we still have it. And then came the second blow of cases. Cases started to surge. We closed the OR again. Right now that we are doing well in vaccines here in the United States, and that people can go on vacations now, of course with all the precautions, I think the fear and anxiety still remain. It's like a bruise that's converted into a scar. Even though it's healed, the scar is still there. When you touch it, you still feel the scar. COVID also gave a lot of opportunities. It was a time of self-assessment and self-realization. That life is so tricky and can be very short. That the luxury, nice cars, jewelries, money are never important if you lose a loved one. I think COVID made us realize the value of family and the value of health. As a healthcare worker, sometimes you're too busy and overwhelmed taking care of the health of other people without knowing that your health is being compromised, that you are not exercising anymore, that you are not doing meditation, you're not eating healthy, you're not spending time with your family. I think COVID made us realize that. I myself realized that every moment, every time that I spend with my family was so precious. I had a time that I had to stay in a hotel for 7 days just to quarantine myself because I had a trauma patient that came into the OR that I took care of the airway. And I'm afraid that I had a virus. And I only had one vaccine during that time. And the potential for me having that virus or contracting that virus and passing it on to my family was very high. I did that for 2 times. So what do I recommend for other healthcare workers? I think to continue what you need to do. I think to continue what you do. And to continue it the best way possible without compromising yourself, your health, and your family's health. Please be vaccinated. You're not doing it for yourself alone. You're doing it for your family. And you're doing it for those patients who are immunocompromised. Be safe always. Cherish your families. Be resilient and continue the faith.